Zeekr 7X has become one of the most popular mid-size SUVs on sale in Australia, and it's pretty easy to see why, because it does present excellent value. Here we've got the mid-spec long-range rear-wheel drive variant, which starts from $63,900. That places it in a pretty good position in the market. If you have a look at the specs, compare the range, the power, and the features to other EVs in this category, you're likely going to be paying a little bit more. Although it is an SUV, you've got about 170mm of ground clearance, so you're not going to get far off-road. In saying that, the top model does have adjustable air suspension with all-wheel drive, which could be suitable for rough dirt roads and so on. What I think is attracting most buyers is the interior and features. For example, this mid-spec model comes with a 21-speaker sound system, full surround view camera, dual 50-watt wireless phone chargers, power front and power recline rear seats, with heating, and the 16-inch touchscreen on the dash. It does miss out on the proper Nappa leather of the top model though. Instead you get this kind of, shiny, and you can tell that this is not real leather. Plenty of space though, and it's got the current fashion of a sort of dual level center console running all the way through. And then up at the back you've got heaps of legroom, flat floor, and even seat adjustment. You've also got some amenities here to keep everyone happy. Right up at the back you've got a big boot, 539 litres, that expands to 1978 litres when you pop down the rear seats. And you've also got a couple of tubs underneath the boot floor. So that's going to be handy for the charging cables or any other items that you just want to keep secure. There's also a 62-litre storage bucket under the bonnet at the front. And then underneath it all, you've got a big 100 kilowatt-hour battery providing a range of up to 615 kilometres. Very impressive, but that is a big battery, so most EVs that have a big battery like that are going to offer a decent range, but even so, 615 kilometres is very, very good. That sends energy to a rear-mounted electric motor producing 310 kilowatts and 440 newton meters. Out on the road, it's a fairly conventional and practical SUV to drive around. You've got good visibility out the front, little quarter window in the side there so you can see what's going on behind the mirror. The pillar isn't too thick, and yeah, you've got a pushed forward pillar and dashboard area as well, so you've got good visibility seeing straight over the bonnet. There's no sort of cluttered feeling going on. However, out the back it is very restricted. I reckon I've had more visibility in some mid-engined supercars before. It's really closed in, the headrests pop right up and the roof drops right down. It's very chunky, and I'm not sure why it is so chunky back there, because on the outside it looks like a pretty conventional station wagon type shape. It's not like it's one of those coupe style SUVs. You do have a comprehensive surround view camera though, so when you're parking in tight situations, you've got a good reassurance there that you know what's going on around the vehicle. Along a country road like this, the suspension is soaking up the bumps nicely. It's not shaking the cabin around, and it's not bone-jarringly stiff. It's absorbing the bumps and providing a confident feel behind the wheel. I think they've done very well with the suspension. Considering this weighs around 2.3 tons, it's it's always going to be hard to contain that weight. But yeah, I think this does very well for this style of vehicle. Having those slightly taller profile tyres I think helps compared with really bigger rims with performance low profile tyres. If you're spending a lot of time out on country roads like this, yeah, I would rather these rims and tyres compared with the high-end stuff. Even over these very ordinary little connections and patchwork along here, it's just soaking up the bumps nicely. Now in terms of handling, look, it hides its 2.3 ton mass quite well. It doesn't feel that heavy. The center of gravity seems like it's low sometimes, but then when you tip it into the corner, there's a bit of sort of initial tip as you turn in, but it hangs on and it kind of settles at that same spot as you're going around the corner. So I think that helps with the comfort. So you've got that movement for comfort, but then it's braced and remains at that point once it's had that initial lean happen. The steering is quite nice as well, like for an electronic setup. I've got a bit of information coming through. It's not completely remote from the wheels. It is giving me enough feedback to kind of enjoy myself and engage with the vehicle a little bit. In terms of performance, I like the throttle calibration of this. I'm just going to slow down a bit, because if you lean on the power, I've just got it in normal mode by the way, you lean on the power a little bit and it responds gradually. It doesn't just on off like a light switch like some EVs. If you put it into the sport mode or acceleration mode, sport, even then, it doesn't initially leap off the line. It kind of just gradually pulls. And if you leave the power down, it actually pulls harder in the top end, or it feels like it does anyway, which is, definitely unusual for an EV. That's usually the other way around. You get that light switch on and you get bang off the mark, and then it really starts to taper off. Whereas this, it definitely feels like it builds momentum as you pick up speed. So it feels more like a conventional petrol vehicle in that sense. Now, in terms of downsides, look, I think this screen takeover business, some people are going to find that annoying. I find it annoying personally, but if you're a bit of a tech enthusiast, then you'll love this stuff. But even just to change the direction of the air vents, you've got to go in here and you fiddle around. You've got one vent up here, but you can actually split it. So send some air over that side and then this side. You've got a little vent down here that you can play around with on the screen. And look, I'm driving along and I'm just moving all over the place. If it was just a mechanical thing, I could look up and keep my eyes on the road. Once I've got my hand on the adjustment toggle, I can just keep my eyes on the road and just move the toggle as I need it. But whereas this, it disappears as well. So go back in here, and then I've got to really make sure I'm looking where the air is directed. It just seems very distracting in my opinion. Like, you're not allowed to use mobile phones in Australia while you're driving, yet you can interact with this massive screen. It does not make sense, in my opinion. It is good to see you've got volume control down below though, so that is good, and you've got some buttons there, but I would like to see much more than that, and a smaller screen. I think that's too big. Again, this is my opinion. I'm a bit old school. I understand that some buyers and tech enthusiasts will love the bigger screen. They want a massive screen all the way across. It's just my opinion that is can be distracting. One thing you have to consider though is the price. At around $63,000, this is excellent value because you've got massage seats, big sunroof, all of the tech gadgets that you could possibly need. Having that screen does help to reduce the costs because they don't have to engineer buttons in. You've got one wiring harness likely going into the back of that. It does help to save money running everything through a central system. Obviously, they've got to pay for the initial engineering for the software and the graphics and all that, but that can be spread across various models as opposed to different buttons for different models and variants and so on. All right, let's head off now and do the performance test and see how it goes.